This is Hit and Run.
Oh, yeah. A lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of stuff. All right, so the Nets lost to the Suns yesterday, 108-84. And they played their 24th different starting lineup in 45 games. That's the most in the history of the Nets after 45 games. And we know that the Nets are tanking. We know it. Okay, so yesterday, no Cam Johnson, no D'Angelo Russell, no Xavier Williams, no Ben Simmons. And we know they have 15 first-round picks over the next couple of years, 4 coming in June, which is a really deep draft. And they have $65 million in cap space. But I got to tell you something. So I think there was 17,000 plus at Barclays Center yesterday. The NBA still has a problem with the players not playing. And I think the Nets this year are complicit in the players not playing. But you can't expect, this is a two-pronged take by me, you can't expect people to pay top dollar to come see your product, and the quote-unquote stars on the team aren't playing because it's the second game of a back-to-back, or if you're tanking. It's ridiculous. And it continues to happen. And I know that Adam Silver doesn't want it to happen and has kind of demanded that if you're on a nationally televised game that, you know, you got to play your stars. Well, the Suns aren't playing Bradley Beal because they might trade him. Think about that. Now, I'm not saying that people came to Barclays Center yesterday to see Bradley Beal. They probably came to see Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. But it's unfair to the paying public. It's unfair to the networks that own your rights to not put the best players out there every single game. I think the health and science departments of teams have way too much power. Oh, I don't think you should play him. Let's not push him back-to-back. The Nets have 16 back-to-backs this year. So that means that's at least 16 games that Ben Simmons isn't going to play. And other players as well. And with the Nets, at least there's an excuse. Because they're tanking. They want to get as many kicks at the can in the lottery. I understand that. I don't approve of it. I think it's terrible. But other teams, if players can't handle back-to-backs, although the Knicks seem to handle it fine, but if your star players can't handle back-to-backs, then stop scheduling back-to-backs. Make the season longer. I know it's hard to compress 82 games into the length of the season. Make it a month longer and eliminate back-to-backs. Because if the players are so soft now that they can't play 2 games in a row, 2 days in a row, it's got to stop. You're robbing people of their money. And as for the Nets, if you're going to tank a season and you're going to trade away players that help you win like Dennis Schrader, if you're going to do that, then you shouldn't be charging top dollar. You just shouldn't. This is not a season where the Nets are trying to win games. Now, Jordy Fernandez is trying to win games, but it's not fair to the paying public that you do it. It's just not. It stinks, and the whole sport stinks from it. It really does. If they can't play back-to-back, stop scheduling back-to-back and make the season longer. Flyers at the Rangers tonight, 7 p.m., 6:30 on 880. With the pregame, Rangers they have climbed out of the abyss. I would say right now, after what looked like a lost season for them, that they are going to make the playoffs. They are playing infinitely better. Every player has stepped up and really changed their game. They look lifeless. They look like they weren't even trying in December, and now they're a different team. Don't know what happened. All right, there are reports out there right now that Pete Alonso and the Toronto Blue Jays could be close to a deal, and some of the reports are $75 million for 3 years. Reportedly, the Mets had offered Pete like $68 to $70 million for 3 years. Now, who am I to sneeze at $5 million? But $5 million over 3 years, when you're making close to $25 million a year, doesn't that lead you to go to the place that you really want to be? So if Pete really wanted to be a Met, wouldn't he leave the $5 million on the table from the Blue Jays and sign with the Mets at 3 years, 70? Maybe he's insulted. Maybe his nose is out of joint. Maybe those numbers are inaccurate. But if they are, doesn't it beg the question, Oh, he loves the Mets. Met fans love him. Well, maybe he doesn't. Maybe it's not as important as we've all made it out to be. Look at Juan Soto. Look at the difference between what the Yankees offered him and the Mets offered him. Now, over 15 years, if he really wanted to be with the Yankees, he would have signed with the Yankees if it really meant that much to him. I'm telling you all, I've told you this for 22 years now. This is how players keep score. So even if it's $3 million over 3 years, they might take that rather than go to the place that they really want to go. You think that Alex Rodriguez, way back when, in his wildest dreams or nightmares, wanted to sign with the Texas Rangers? Do you really think he did? Of course he didn't. He wanted to sign with the Mets. But they didn't offer him what the Rangers did. And, no knock, because this is the way you keep score and this is the way you earn your living. When Pete signed with Scott Boras, he was trying to get the most money. There wasn't any ooey-gooey about it. There just wasn't. There was no ooey-gooiness. He was going to go where they paid him the most money. And that looks like it might happen. Now, it's not a done deal. It's just rumors that are out there. But if he ends up in Toronto for what amounts to $5 million over 3 years, did he really want to go with the Mets? So the Jaguars fire Trent Baalke, their GM. And I've always said this. When you look at bad organizations, bad teams, it's no secret why they're bad. Their organizations stink from high heaven. Imagine you get rid of Doug Peterson and you don't get rid of the GM, who a lot of people don't like. Then you start your coaching interviews with Trent Baalke being part of them. One of the guys that they had interest in, Tampa Bay offensive coordinator Liam Cohen. He takes himself out of the running. So that was probably a signal to the owner, a lot of these coaches don't really look like they want to work with Trent Baalke. So he fires him. When you're a bad organization, there's a reason. You're inept. You make dumb decisions like that. Wouldn't it have been better to make a clean sweep? You fire Peterson, you fire the GM. So now not only are they looking for a coach, they're looking for a coach and they're looking for a GM. Awful. Awful. Bad news for teams that are picking 5th or 6th in the NFL draft. The GM of the Titans has come out and said, I might just take the best available athlete with the number 1 pick, which would lead you to believe, or the guy that fits our team the best, lead you to believe it has a chance to be Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter, the rushing defensive end for Penn State. That means that the Titans might not take one of those quarterbacks. So the teams that are picking 3rd, 4th, 5th that might have had designs on Travis Hunter or on Abdul Carter, now they might not get that guy. Now, it also presents a problem for the Giants. What if they don't love Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward? What if they don't love him? Now it's going to be sitting right there. The ultimate second guess if you don't take the guy and he becomes a good player. If you're sitting at 3 and the 2 well-known quarterbacks actually are taken 1 and 2, the pressure is off. Then you take the best player. Like it was, there was some pressure last year because the Giants at 6 could have taken J.J. McCarthy. They didn't. They took a great wide receiver. Malik Neighbors turned out to be outstanding. But now the outside noise is going to permeate as well. If one of those quarterbacks, who most of us don't know if they could be great or not, you heard Mel Kiper Jr. yesterday saying, last year's quarterbacks he had rated 9.8, 9.9. Sanders and Ward he has at 9.1. So they're not thought of in the same way as those quarterbacks, the first 3 quarterbacks last year. But if you're the Giants and one of those quarterbacks is sitting there and you don't take them, and it turns out that they become really good, it's another strike against that administration. Congratulations to St. John's in front of about just under 15,000 at the Garden. They beat Xavier 79-71. They were down by 10 at the half. They did not play well, but this team has a refuse-to-lose mentality, and they end up winning in overtime. They are 20th ranked now in the nation. Their record is 17-3, and that's the best record since they had the exact same record at the 20 games, 1989 and 1990. And one final thing, there's stories in the paper about Mariano Rivera and his wife Clara involving the church and somebody who was suing them, who was allegedly sexually assaulted by somebody in the church, and they're saying that Mariano and his wife didn't do enough and tried to cover it up. Listen, I don't know anything that's going on. It's the first I heard of it was this. All I could attest to is this. Knowing Mariano the way I know him, I'd be absolutely shocked if this was true. The man that I know, and I've known him since he was a kid coming up with the Yankees, the man that he became, the Christian that he is, I'd be stunned if there's validity to it. I can't sit here and give you an opinion on it because I don't want to disparage the person who's filing the lawsuit. Not going to doubt that that person's telling the truth. All I will tell you is if there's a shred of truth to it, I would just be gobsmacked. I would be absolutely flabbergasted knowing the man the way I know him. I mean, I know his wife, hello and goodbye, but I mean, they built these churches themselves. So it would stun me, and I hope it's not true. I'm rooting for it not to be true. But it's some heavy-duty stuff that's out there. It's just weird. You open up the paper and you read that. I actually saw it last night online, and I was stunned, absolutely stunned. Again, I hope it's not true. And if you said, Michael, do you think it's true? Again, I don't want to disparage the person that's making the claims. No accuser should ever be shot down or shouted down. I would say that Mariano to me is just a very special person, and I'm hoping it's not true. And if I find out it is, I wouldn't even know how to talk about it. I wouldn't even know how to proceed. I'd be so stunned.